Hey guys, welcome to Vidovic Arts. I'm Josh, and today you can't see my face. Now, I figured I'd just go straight into this and skip the whole, face cam kind of stuff, and get into this because I think it's kind of important. A lot of people, I don't think, realize what they're what are the real things when it comes to 3D printing, and what exactly is 3D print safe. It's a term I've used quite a long time now. I'm not sure if it's an actual term, but it's what I use, and I'm going to explain exactly what it means. Now, when you're printing, and if you're watching this channel, you've probably got a 3D printer. If you don't, you can just watch along and figure out what I'm talking about. If you have printed, you've probably heard of supports. Now, 3D Print Safe is basically something that doesn't need supports, and it's designed based around the printer, so it's designed to be functional for printing, as easy as possible for, the everyday person who just wants to print figurines and toys or whatever you want to print. So I have designed things in the past to be completely for a 3D print safe, and I can illustrate a couple ways as to how exactly that works. So yeah, when we're looking at a basic printer, we have a bed like this and the head up here, which is where the filament gets fed into, like this. You can see the filament comes in through here and comes out here and makes your masterpiece right there. But the thing is, with printers, is they don't print all in one go, they print layer by layer. So you end up with this. If you were printing the first layer, it'd look like this weird kind of shape. Now, this whole concept is basically where we're going when it comes to printer safe. Let me try and remove all of these. So, layer by layer, just say that's the object. That's printer safe right there already, I can tell you. When you are printing something, so this is a side-on view, just so you know. If you're printing something that has, if it's going to be like this, that is not printer safe. And the reason why is when you print this layer by layer, it would look something like this. So layer, 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 and then all of a sudden it's in mid-air, layer, layer. And you end up with these layers that don't have anything to support, so you end up having to create supports for that file to print properly. Now, some printers are better than others, and you might be able to really, really stretch the ability of your printer, but if you are doing something like something on a 45-degree angle or further, you end up with layer lines that are really, really visible underneath here. And because it's overhanging, sometimes they actually bulge, kind of like that, because they're kind of drooping when they print. Does this make sense? So this is this right here. So when it comes to designing something for 3D printing, 3D print safe, it's better to try to keep things like this shape, or straight like that, or maxing out at a certain degree. So anything that's overhanging is normally a no-go, unless you're if you're making like a big old T shape like this. That just won't work with a filament printer, but on a resin printer that might work. But that's a completely different story. We're not going to go down this because we're talking about FDM in this entire regard. So when it comes to printer safe with the resin printer, all of this kind of goes out the window, just because it prints completely differently, and honestly, I'd probably have to make a whole another video for that, and I haven't really designed too much for it. I don't really worry about it because the supports are pretty wicked with that thing, and you can definitely go a little bit further with your designs being more chaotic. Let's go with that. But when it comes to FDM, because we're doing layer by layer with this plastic stuff, it ends up drooping, and you can have some pretty bad results. So I'll just jump into the 3D here to kind of re-explain things, and just I really want to make this clear as to what it is I mean by printer friendly or 3D print friendly, 3D print safe. Is that yeah. So we have a cube here. Obviously, if we were to print this, it would print as a cube. If we were to print, with it on an angle like this, it would struggle, but it would probably still print this. Along this fine line at the bottom, probably not so much. That might screw up the entire thing. But that's probably the max angle that we could go without having any kind of troubles. Hopefully, cross your fingers. You're kind of going down experimental lane here with this angle. Now, I'll quickly load a file of my own here that I designed a long time ago. Let's see if I can find it. So this is super old. Where are you? Here he is. This file here I designed to be printer friendly, and it'll kind of explain itself as you look at the file. Now, I said before you can work with an inverted pyramid, but you don't want to have just things hovering out in the open. So this guy, as low poly and garbage looking as he is completely printer safe, being he doesn't need any supports. Now, right now I can tell you this part right here, that was one of my worst bits. It's not very printer safe there, but this was all experimental to me, and at the time I was learning what works and what doesn't work. And this guy, he really opened up the doorways onto what I could do. Now, the reason why I put this cape on him was to kind of like make it easier for the printer to get a hold of things. So he's got like a very small foot placement here because his feet are up, and you just cover that up, and now at least all of a sudden he's got this massive base that you've got to work with on that first layer, which means there's more support, and it works a lot better. And see here with the sword, it's connected to the cape, and it looks like it's hanging down, but it's actually going to print up layer by layer onto his hand and up to the sword, all the way up to the top. Even his horns, the horns are definitely touching something, so they're not just hanging over onto nothing. Yeah, this arm here is probably the worst bit, and I probably had trouble printing this just because of how much of an angle that is on. That's not a 45-degree angle. That's almost just a 0 degree or 180 degree flat surface there that's hanging over the edge. That could screw up the entire print, honestly. And the fact that this piece here is all by its lonesome for quite a while. You can see the shield is just kind of like nothing. Now, this might not make much sense looking at it and me explaining it like this, but what you can do, I use Cura, which is a slicing program, and you can actually check layer by layer what the print is going to look like and whether or not it'll succeed or fail, or whether it needs supports. And this is really important if you're making your own models. You should definitely be chucking your stuff into Cura in the early stages just to see what it is you're missing, and to re-gauge how to look at your models and evaluate what you're doing. So I have a plane here. Well, it's the rear end of a plane, the tail end of a plane, and as you can see, it has quite a lot of overhang here. But at the same time, it's not a lot. So this here angle, that could probably print by itself without any supports. But because this here angle is nearing that 0 degree 180 flat surface kind of area, it's more than likely going to droop when I print this and screw up. So if we jump into this program and you go prepare down here, this is an older version. I have had a look at the newer version, and it's much more complex. I'm using the 2018 version of Cura. I prefer it just because it's not as complex, and I'm pretty sure they've got tree support isn't experimental in 2021 now. So yeah, if you're using a modern version, just I don't know, just downgrade it, just because there's so many options And yeah, it's gotten a lot more complicated. So yeah, I practice with this one. I know what I'm doing with this one. If you know how to get to your layer views, you can get your layer view, X-ray view, and your solid view. X-ray view shows you what the model looks like in all its separate components. So if it's a one solid piece, it'll look like the tail. If it's multiple pieces, it'll look like this wheel here. And in the layer view, once you have prepared the file, it'll show you, and it looks kind of trippy when you're zooming in and out, it'll show you actually every single layer of the print. And this is where you are going to be learning how to print, 3D print safe. So yeah, I keep using different terms here, like 3D printer friendly, 3D print safe, 3D, it's the same thing, but it's I just keep using different words. But I just want people to know that this is what it means to be safe and designed for your printer. Now you can see here at the point of its like most extreme angle here, it's almost flat. You can see here each layer how much it has to print over with no supports. And I can tell you now, if you've printed anything, this is when it goes on as a melted plastic, so it's very hot, and if you've ever melted any kind of plastics, it doesn't like to stay in the shape that you put it down as. It will warp. So if you were to probably print this as is with no supports, it would probably end up bowing down like this, and you would end up with this really weird shape. And the further you go on, the more it would get worse. It would probably end up saving itself eventually, but all of this section would be completely ruined. So what you have to do is add supports. And unfortunately, you can't design everything to be printer safe. But the more you have control over your own models, this is a Spitfire tail. I didn't have control over what this looked like, because if I changed what it looked like, it's no longer a Spitfire tail. But if you were to design your own tail of a plane, you could probably design it so it has an angle more 45 degrees as opposed to this flat surface here, and you'd have a printer friendly design, just like this tail. The rear wheel here just so happens to be on this really nice angle that makes that completely safe, doesn't need any supports at all. And it's really neat just to have that, to be honest, because it saves a lot of time. The more supports you have, the more time it takes. So yeah, you can see here, this is not safe for printing at all by itself. So I'm hoping I'm making this very clear as to what I mean by 3D print safe or 3D printer friendly, and that is basically it. It's your angle of prints. So if you're printing anything that has anything that's overhanging, that's a no-go. If you're printing something on a nice angle like this, that's okay. If you've tested it before and your printer can handle really extreme angles, go for it. If you don't want to use supports, that is. But just bear in mind that everyone's printer, assuming that you're designing for 3D printing, not everyone's printer is the same. So it's better to be safer than sorry, because some people just don't have the printing ability to, print these wacky designs without any supports. And yeah, you can jump into programs that will auto support for you, like these tree supports right here. But, some people are very lazy, and it's better to design for these lazy people. And if you're watching this and you think, well, yeah, that's me, I definitely don't want to click this button right here that says supports, and I don't even want to look up how to do this. And then this is we're designing these for you. And honestly, I think you end up with more people looking at your work, and they'll find your stuff. The less work that people have to do to actually print them, if that makes any sense. So you can see here where the supports would go. You can also design in the 3D print, in the 3D modeling stage, supports yourself. So, for example, if this thing here was really bugging you, you could end up making a little support of some sort like this. This is just a real quick mock-up. You could have a support like that, going over the edge like this. Make sure it's not sitting anywhere. So when it prints, it will actually have a bit of a support, and the people that are using your files don't have to, choose to add the supports from the program that they're using. So it's just a little bit of a heads up that that's what I mean by that, and I hope this made sense. If it doesn't, I'm more than willing to redo this video and make it much more sensical. I have just done it in one go. I tried my best just to make it easy to access, and yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Hopefully this makes sense to you guys. It makes sense to me. If you are designing your own models, it's just something to keep in mind, and if you're printing stuff, definitely keep in mind those overhangs are not good for your prints. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learnt something. Yeah, that's all I have to say for now. I'll catch you in the next one, hopefully. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment on, what you think about this little method of explaining things with no face cam. It's very awkward right now. I'm used to seeing something, but yeah, it should speed up my editing time at the very least. Alright, I'll catch you guys in the next one. As always, stay awesome. See you guys.